Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm your niche coach, Alicia Lester, and today on Get Your Shit Together, we are talking about crowd pleasing. Okay? First, I want you guys to go ahead and click subscribe. Super important that you guys don't miss any more episodes of what I have going on and what I have to say. So I need you guys to click subscribe so that way you can share it, like it, tell a friend, text it to somebody, send me a message. Let me know how you feel about what it is that we're talking about. I think it's super, super, super important. I thank you guys so much in advance. So go ahead and click right now, subscribe. I also put the link in the comments and anything that, anything you guys may need for far as following me on other social media outlets and things like that. I truly, truly appreciate you guys. But today, this crowd pleasing, you don't want to miss it. So me, I've kind of always been viewed as the funny person. You may not see the humor here on YouTube, but if you go and follow me on other social media platforms, if you follow my main page, yeah, between myself and my family, it's always something funny going on. But for me, it's so crazy because the humor started at a time in my life where I was probably hurting the most. I get people now that grew up with me that's like, when did you become so funny? When did you become so when did your personality change? And honestly, my personality changed at a time when I was dealing with the most shame, the most heartache, the most heartbreak. I was dealing with issues with my mother. There was so many things that I was going through, and I had to laugh to keep from crying. And that's how a lot of times that's where comedy kind of starts from. It's like you got to laugh to keep from crying. Am I a comedian? Hell no. But do I know how to control a room with laughter? I do. Do I know how to break the ice? I do. Do I know how to make your day better? I do. Do I know how to make you smile? I do. And I do that for a number of reasons. One of the main reasons that I do it for is because I know what it's like to be in a sad place. I know what it's like to be in a position and feel like you can't get up. It feels like you're stuck. So laughter kind of helps you get up. You can't lay on the floor laughing. At some point, you got to roll around, you got to roll over. Eventually, you're going to get up because your stomach hurting too bad. So I knew that laughter could take you from the bottom and eventually get you up. And that's what I've always wanted to do. But what I had to realize is while being a crowd pleaser, it was almost similar to being an ass kisser. Okay? Because sometimes people just didn't want to laugh. Sometimes they just didn't. But now you find yourself having to kiss their ass to kind of make them smile and and I'm like, you know what? I don't want to be an ass kisser anymore. However, let me tell you and let me run back through all the times that I was. Not literally run back to all the times, honey. It was way too many to count. But I do want you to know that you can also be dealing with being a crowd pleaser. Being a crowd pleaser can sometimes be dope, but sometimes it's like, hold up. This is not my job. My job is not to please you. My job is ultimately to please me. Growing up, I was not the strongest person. Mentally, physically, emotionally, my feelings got hurt fast. I was weak in size. I was always a very, very small, very skinny child. And I would just cry. I would cry sometimes. If people didn't want to play, I would cry. If people didn't want to come outside and be my friend, I would cry. If I couldn't come over your house, I would cry. If you came up to me and want to fight me, I would cry. I didn't cry outward, but in the inside, honey, I would be crushed. Because that's not what I wanted friends for. I never thought friends should fight. I never thought friends should confront one another. I never thought friends should just behave that kind of way. So anytime I was in a situation where someone was to confront me or something like that, I would cower. You know what I'm saying? I would always cower down and I would talk to kind of get myself up out of whatever it was. So if that meant that I needed to put on a show, I would put on a show because that's going to keep me from probably getting my ass whooped. And so I went through years of that. Not saying that for years people wanted to fight me, but just I found myself in other situations where I was like, oh, time for me to crowd please. Time for me to take control of the room. Time for me to make this person happy. Time to make this person smile. And so I would do that continuously. I learned that I would do that even in my own home with my mother. My mother, she was harsh. She was harsh. Now, as much as my mother was the shit, my mother was also, she was tough. She was tough. She was extremely tough, right? We had our fun days. We had our funny moments. We had all of that. But ultimately, mom was a hard ass. She was definitely a hard ass. And that's the only phrase that I could really use. She was a hard ass. Mom is deceased right now. She passed away in June. But in her life, and during my life with mom, you had to know when to hold it, and you had to know when to fold it all the time. If you didn't, you will soon learn. When I was making mama smile and laugh and all that kind of stuff, we were good. Everything was good. But when I got on mama's bad side, it was horrible. It would really get bad. The older that I got, a lot of name calling, a lot of she knew what to say. She knew exactly what to say to make you feel or question. Hell, she would make you question your own existence. But that's just kind of how her approach was. I don't think she meant to hurt feelings. I think that was her defense mechanism. And I think that's what she learned. So that's what she passed on to myself and my brother. So we had to learn that it was like a sink or swim kind of situation in the home. When I got before my double digits, my brother actually moved out and he went to college. And so when he went to college, from there, he went on to the military. So we would have a long distance chat and it would still be funny and she would still be a hard ass, but he didn't have to deal with it as much as I did. So now I'm the only one in the home with it. And it was like, oh my God. So I found myself trying to do so many things just to please mama so she wouldn't be mad or so she wouldn't be angry. She wasn't abusive or anything like that. It was her mouth. Now, don't get me wrong. I got my ass whooped multiple times. But I cannot remember ever getting an ass whooping that I did not probably deserve. I did things like set things on fire, steal money out of her purse, steal her car. So I did some things that definitely warranted an ass whooping or some strong discipline. You know, I always make the joke that mama should have definitely done at least 2 to 3 years in a penitentiary because she was whooping my ass, you know. But at the same time, she taught me a valuable lesson. Leave people shit alone and you won't get your ass whooped. Cool, learned it, done. You know, so I didn't have to worry about that. But I just remember feeling the need to please her. I felt the need to always be on her good side because I never knew what the bad side was going to look like for me that day. I never knew what the name calling was going to look like on that day. Now, I probably deserved a few names, but some of the names sounded like names from somebody down the street, you know? So I had to fight through that. I definitely had to tough through that. And, she was teaching me lessons and I was learning lessons and all of that, but her approach was definitely unlike no other. Now, in no way am I saying that my mother was not a good mom. She was an amazing mom. She was an amazing mom. There are still things today that I learned from her that I still carry with me just throughout the rest of my life. That's how I raised my kids and all of that. Now, less name calling, less toughness, but the firmness, definitely, because I feel like it's very, very needed. I feel like it was very, very necessary. I've never been in trouble. I've never been to jail. I've never, none of those things. And I think that had a lot to do with the way that mama raised me. So now I take it back out of the home. And so now I find myself in every group that I'm in every place that I'm at. It wasn't about being the center of attention. It was about changing the direction the room was going in, or it was about changing how thick the air was. It was about lessening the tension that may have been in the air or that may have been in the room. I've never liked conflict. I've never liked issues, problem, fighting. I've never liked any of those things. So if I'm ever somewhere, if I see someone else being mistreated or if I see someone else being embarrassed, I'll shift it and I'll put it on me. You can't talk more shit about me than I can about me. So I kind of got tough skin now. So when I would see someone being placed in a small place, I would change it all, and I would tell a joke, and I would shift the whole direction. And I would do that because I never like to see people in a place where they feel small, or they feel intimidated, or they feel, just mistreated in any kind of way. So I learned how to please the crowd, and I learned how to put the joke on me. Oftentimes, because I had my own insecurities about certain things, I would laugh at me first. That way it didn't hurt so bad if you did. I would tell the joke on me or about me first. So that way when you told the joke, your shit wasn't funny. I would confront my own fears and confront my own battles or demons or whatever first out loud. So that way when you did it, it was a flex. You know what I'm saying? You was just trying to flex. And so once I started doing that, it became an all the time thing. People, sometimes people will say that comedy is an extension of intelligence. I believe that. I believe that some of the most funny people are very, very intelligent people. You can't always see it, or you don't always know it, but it takes skill. I ain't even gonna front. It definitely takes a skill. Am I the funniest person in the world? Hell no. But when it came to survival, I became that. I became that for my space. Maybe not for anybody else's space. There's somebody in the world that don't think I'm funny at all. There's somebody in the world that don't think shit I say is funny. And that's okay. That's your business. But for me, in the area that I've had to operate in, I needed that. I needed that because, like I said, it kept me from crying. The laughter kept me from crying. So my imagination had to become so huge that I can pull a joke out of the sky. I can make anything, I can make anything funny. And I had to do that. And so it became kind of like a gift to me. It really, really did. But it was, like I said, it was like a blessing and a curse. It was a blessing because, oh my God, it made everybody else smile. But it was a curse because at the end of the day, I'm still wearing the joke, or I'm still dealing with the repercussions that came from whatever the joke was. Or maybe the shit wasn't really that funny. Or next time I'm going to let you wear the shit, and I'm not going to shift the direction of where it's going in the room. That's what I would always tell myself. Like, next time I'm just going to let you wear that shit. But I couldn't because I knew what it was like for the joke to be on me. And it's just not something that I wanted for the rest of the world. And I know I can't change everything and I can't change everybody, but I'm just expressing to you the thoughts and the things that were going through my mind while I was continuing to crowd please. I say all this to say that you have to get to a place in your life where you know that the show is over. You know that you don't have to kiss anybody's ass. You know that you don't have to do anything to try to please this group of individuals. If you find yourself shucking and jiving just to make these people laugh and smile and all that, whether it's at work, at church, at home, your relationship, anywhere in life, honey, it could be in the goddamn store. Cut it out. Cut it out. The joke does not have to be on you. The joke does not have to be you. It's not your job to always have to change the tension and whatever's in the room. Maybe you should just leave the room. Maybe that's not the room for you. Maybe it's not your job to be the cleaning lady. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's not your job to do that. I used to always, people growing up, honey, because my imagination was so crazy, people would be like, oh, Alicia be lying. All she do was lie. She lie. I got some friends now that still be like, Alicia be lying. She be lying. It wasn't that I lied. I lived in my own little world. Because I needed a place to get away. So what may have started off this kind of story, maybe I brought it to here just because I wanted to make you laugh with it. This shit really happened. This shit, I kind of added on a little bit just so you can smile, at the time. Because it didn't do any good to keep on talking about, oh, I've been mistreated, or I was abused, or I was neglected, or I, wasn't raised by my own family, or this, yeah. So this shit really happened. It was the funny shit. It was the other things that I would say that would make it like, oh shit, well she ain't tripping, why should I? And I did that because I didn't want anybody else who may have been neglected or mistreated or abused or all the, you can't live there. Don't just stay there. Make the shit funny, get away from it, get it out your system. Don't allow it to live up here. And that was my thing. And so I was reading Will Smith's book and he was saying that one man's fantasy is another man's lie. Well, it depends on how you look at it. It absolutely depends on how you look at it. My fantasy definitely became other people's lie. There probably was just like, Alicia is doing the absolute most. But I needed my fantasy. That's what people fail to realize. I needed my fantasy because if I had to live in the truth, it hurt. The truth would hurt very, very bad. So I needed that fantasy because that's what kept me going. That fantasy is what made me become a better person. That fantasy is what made me love people, love on people, care for people, embrace people in all of their ways and all of their faults and all of their imperfections. That fantasy is what allowed that. That truth would have had me push everyone out because I don't need to take on your shit. I can't afford to. I can't afford to live in that. I can't take on anybody else's stuff because mine's is so thick. So I just learned to cut mines with a knife. And I did that so I could be able to function. I had no idea that it would just like, it rolled off onto my kids. My kids are funny. If this hurting place opened up for the most beautiful things to come out of it. I had no idea that my sense of humor would help hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands of people throughout my life. I had no idea this would be the direction that my life would go in. Am I sad about it? Hell no. But would I do it again? I don't know. Because like I said, there's plenty of times that I was still the joke at the end of the day. So I don't know if I would have continued to. I would like to say that I would because of how many people that it helped. It makes me feel amazing when I see people in my inbox and they're just like, I was having such a hard day, or things wasn't going my way, or I just thought today was it for me. I had a lady message me a few weeks ago and she said that she was going to kill herself that day. But she saw a post of mine about my children and all of our dysfunction, and it made her smile, and it made her think about her own family, and she couldn't go through with it. What? My heart got big. My heart got so big, and it got so big that I felt like she had became my assignment. And now I need to check on you. Now I need to talk to you, and I need to know what was going through your mind to make you feel like today was the last day. I need to know what made you feel like today was the last day that you would ever see your babies again. What made you feel like you couldn't afford, or you couldn't go on? Whatever it was sideswiped by comedy. It was sideswiped by my life. It was sideswiped by me. Now, she could have been lying. She could have been blowing smoke up my ass, but it worked. It absolutely worked, because that made me feel so good, and that made me feel like all the crowd pleasing and all my imagination and all that kind of stuff. It made me feel like, God damn. Not only does it work on me, it work on others. Not only does it work on me, it work on others. There's so many different things that you don't see me doing. Like, you don't see me arguing. You don't see me going back and forth. You don't see me in conflict. You don't see me in those kind of things. Oftentimes when people pick fights with you, is because they're having a bad day. One thing I learned, don't never argue with a damn fool, because from far away, no one can tell who is who. No one knows who the fool is and who the fool is not. So I never want to look like the fool. So I don't go back and forth with people that don't mean me any good. And I don't do that because then I gotta go in here. I gotta go in here, and I have to find somebody in me, or find something in me that's not so nice. So now I'm hitting below the belt. Now I'm hurting feelings because I feel like that's what you're doing. And I never want to be that person. It's so much easier for me to just be the crowd pleaser than it is for me to be the Debbie Downer. You know, so I have my days. I have my days where some days I think it's absolutely amazing to be able to please the crowd. But then you kind of sit back and be like, God damn, so when I'm not all the way at my best, who's going to be there to please me? Who's going to make me smile? Who's going to make me happy? Oftentimes it's nobody. So I have to find humor within myself. But that's why I love that place of mine. I love that imagination, because it allows me to become whoever I want to be. It allowed me to be able to see the joy and see the humor and see the goodness in whatever it is I need to see. I never stay sad long because I'm always willing to see the good. And all that comes from my imagination. You know, some people be like, Alicia, like you just, oh my God, like where do you get it from? In here, all up in here, all up in here. It's not that I make it up, it's I make it funny. The shit really be happening. I just make it funnier. That's it. And I love that. There's a part of me, I used to always say I wanted to work on a sitcom. I've always wanted to have my own sitcom. I think I can act. I think I can. I probably can't, but I think I can. And I do that because I know what some of those shows used to do for me when I would run home after school. They made me happy. They made me smile. They gave me something to look forward to. I saw people that looked like me. You know, it was all of that. And so I used to want to become one of those same actresses or one of those same people on a sitcom that can be that for people after school. Nobody does it anymore after school, but I'm just saying, you know, I just always wanted to be that light at the end of anybody's tunnel. It doesn't mean that my light is always on. It means that I'm willing to share my light with others. It means that while my light is shining, I'm willing to be that smile that other people need. I'm willing to be that glimmer of hope that other people look forward to. I'm willing to be that, I don't know. I'm just willing to be your person. I'm absolutely willing to be your person. I just had to realize that being your person didn't have to push down my person or dim my light. So I've mastered the art of being your person while loving me. So I can still be your person, but I can also love me while I'm being that. So being the crowd pleaser, I realized that it had nothing to do with me being weak. It had nothing to do with me not being able to fight or not being able to, I can protect myself. I just choose to love myself more. Now, don't get me wrong, push come to shove, we in that thing. But ultimately, I just choose to love. I just choose to be there. I just choose to make you smile. I just choose to make you happy. I choose to be that light at the end of your tunnel because my light isn't out. I appreciate you guys for always tuning in, always being there, always listening. I appreciate you subscribing because I told you to. I appreciate you guys so much. I thank you for everything we are, everything we have been, and everything that we will be in the future. Continue to subscribe. I plan to reach so many people with my voice, with my humor, and with my imagination. So thank you for allowing me to make everything funnier so it can make your day easier. I'm your niche coach, Alicia Lester. I appreciate you all and everything you do. Continue to rock with me. I'm always gonna rock with you. Find me on social media, y'all. I still got a few slots left for some friendships, so go ahead and be that. Go ahead and jump on in there. I thank you guys so much. Bye-bye.